Hello viewers, welcome to this tutorial. Remember, the previous two tutorials were talking about introduction on computer programming language, especially C programming language, whereby we have elaborated why do we need to program and why do we need to choose C as a good programming language. And also we have elaborated the parts of a C program. In the second video, we have seen the operators, the expressions, and also how do we apply them in our programs. So we have seen some examples whereby we have seen how to apply arithmetic operators, how to apply logical, relational, and bitwise operators, and so on and so forth. In this video, we are going to talk about something very interesting and something very useful in all the programming languages. Here, we are going to talk about something which is nothing other than control flow statement. Otherwise, many people are calling it decision making, which means it is one of the parts that will be allowing us to take a decision. All the applications that we'll be doing or be having, we need to apply some policies and some decisions according to the policy. For example, if you are doing an application to help students to pass any course, there is a policy to pass, and it's up to you then to configure or even just to structure the condition for the student to pass a course. Before we dive into decision making, I want us first of all to have a basic information on some IOs. So here, when you say IO, it is nothing other than input output. So here, please get to understand and also to remember these things that we've talked about. Here, we have said that the basic IO, we can have scanf and printf. We can have gets, puts, put call, and so on. So these ones we have seen that we can be able, we will be defining them when we'll be going to string handling. But for now, understand this basic formatted input output and the other unformatted input and output. It is one of the assignments that we need to have. So when we say formatted input output, those are the ones that are accepting a certain format. For example, if we say printf, the printf usually we will be having like two things. So the first argument in the printf function, it is what we call control string, whereby in the control string we can have this percentage sign at the beginning of the format specifier. So here, this is it, and this is what we call the string literals. So the printf function can accept many arguments, whereby the first argument will be the string, or yes, the string or the string literal, whereby you need to put a message or also the data type specifiers and the breaks as long as you want them. So after this, then we can see that okay, in our printf function, the printf function, it will be having the argument list and also the control string. The control string will be having two things, or no, three things. The first one is the literal text to be displayed. Secondly is the format specifiers. Thirdly, it is the special characters. As we go here, we are having the text to be displayed, the identifiers, and also the special characters, whereby I can put, for example, let me say the sum, and inside the sum I want to put it into, like for example, into these things, into double quotes, and we have seen that here we need to include like this one. Are we together? Yes. Like if we include like these ones, then we can see that wow, it will only display this double, that is special symbols. So here then, all of these three should be there. Please note this. A printf function should be having at least one of these three. The first one is the text to be displayed. Secondly, format specifiers. Thirdly, special characters. And also the number of arguments must match with the number of format specifiers. For example, if you want to display, for example, num, sum, age, average, and so on, the number of those arguments should match with the number of specifiers that we do have here. Are we together? So the format specifiers, we can have %C to character. For example, if I want Eric, %C will display one character after another. For example, E-R-I-C-K. %D, it is for decimal integers, all double. %O, it is for octal integers. %X, it is for hexadecimal integers. %U, it is unsigned decimal integers. LD for long integer. F for floating numbers. LF for long and double. E for this, and S for character string, exponential floating points, and also character string. Usually, these things I'm not telling you to memorize them, but as long as then you apply them into your daily work of programming, then you will get to remember and also to memorize them by default. And here we have seen some common special characters whereby you can have /n, which means new line, /t tab, /a arrat, /f form feed, /v vertical tab, /b backspace, this one for double quotes, n for octal number value. Usually these are the ones. Then when we go to basic input and output, this one we've talked about it, whereby we have seen how do we use printf and how do we use scanf. Let me just use a simple question. There's a question that we have asked to the user, like for example, to put the age and the name. We are going then to make it dynamic. If we make it dynamic, then dynamic input, let me call it like this, dynamic input, which means I am going to tell to this user, welcome dear to this AUCA. For example, after having this one, I can say then, other than having this one or of assignment, I can leave the assignments. Then I also leave this one into A, B, and C. I don't want this. Then I say, I'll tell to the user, printf enter your name. So if the user enter the names, so then here I can say, okay, this will come to the new line, enter your name. Then here I will need to use the scanf. Then if I use the scanf, I need to use the percentage specifier, which is %s, and here I will populate the name. You should remember, if you are receiving the name like this, it should be declared the same. Like here, I have declared names, and here I'm putting name. We together. So which means I need to come here and I add s. Again, here, the names that you are receiving is having low or lowercase letter n, yet in the declaration it was uppercase letter n, which means they should be having the same case. So remember that C programming is a case sensitive. Again here, as long as I'm not going to assign directory, I need to predict how many characters to be entered in my name. So here, after receiving the name, I can also ask the user to enter the age. Enter your age. It is not you, but your. Okay, enter your age. Then here I will receive the age, which means I will receive it here. Okay, why do we need to include this ampersand here but not here? Why? Because when you are having character value, it will not be stored in specific address. It depends on the length of the character. But if you're having age or integer value, whatever, as long as it is integer, it will be stored in only one specific address. An example, if you are going to say, for example, Eric, this is my memory space, whereby, for example, someone wants to insert Eric, and another one wants to insert a number, the age. So if the age is equal to Eric, that means the system will display like this, R-I-C-K. Assume Janet is coming, that means it will be different then. It will be different. You can see. Usually all the names will not be having the same addresses. So this is why then, when we are going to receive the name, don't include this ampersand. But if it is this age, if it is 12 as the age, this is name, and this is age. So if this 12 has the age, this 12 will go to one specific location. If this, for example, 120, again it will be in one only location. With this y, then if we are going to receive any integer float double, we need to use this ampersand to tell it to the system that it is not allowed to exceed the reserved space for age. Are we together? And we have seen that if it is integer, it is having how many bytes? 4 bytes. So assume then, okay, this one I am using scanf and cleantif, and here other than doing this, then I will then have these ones. So remember, here it will ask me please enter your name, whereby I need to write my name, enter your age. As I told you, this is my age. So here is that you will be, here it is telling me this next year. Why? Because here the data type specifier, dear these names, you will be this one next here, percentage d, then here for the age. So here the reason why here it is percentage s and here is percentage x, yet it needs to be what? It needs to be percentage d. Let me run again. If I come here and I write Gwiza, then I write 27, so it will be telling me that I'll be 28 next year. Wow, this is very wonderful. Then how then do we apply some conditions? How do you apply some conditions? Here we've been just talking about, this was the intro there to recap on what we have seen as in uh, input output. So we have seen this, and we have seen why do we need to include the percent in number or in integers, but not in character or string. So when we go to control flow statement, we are having two types of control flow statement, whereby we are having selective statements and also we are having repetitive statements. When you say selective statements, it means we want to select something. If you want to use repetitive statements, it means we need to repeat something. For example, I am going to explain one by one by one, and unconditional loop is repeated. Okay, sure. So here, let me go to selective statements. For example, let us assume that we are going to do a simple program. And this simple program, it is nothing other than to ask to the user. So ask to the user the age, and then it tells or even displays that age if the person is beyond. If the person is beyond like 20 years, then we tell the person that he's adult. For example, something like that, adult tester. Let me say that our program is called adult tester. So I'm going to test it for the name and the age of someone. So remember, we have done this one. And here, remember the comments should be meaningful to the particular program. Adult tester. This is an example. So I'm going to receive the same as this one, but before displaying this message, I want to use if. If this age of someone is like this one, then I need to display something. For example, the system will display dear name with the age of this one. You are adult. This is something. Otherwise, it will not display anything. Okay, this is the same. Let me say I will need my if condition. There is a syntax. We need to have if, then here we pass the condition. Then after the condition, we open and we close where the statement should pass. And here you need to pass the statements. So then here, what is the conditional statement that I need to pass by here? It is to say if age is greater than 20, then I will tell to the person that plaintiff, dear, you are adult due to your years old. This is an example. Dear name due to your age. Are we together? So if this is like this, then I'm telling to the user. So for example, let me come here and run my system, and it's going to tell me enter your name, Gwiza, enter your age, 17. If it is 17, nothing will be displayed. Why? Because this will be only displayed if the age is greater to 20. For example, if I put, for example, 25, let me say here it is Gwiza, here it is 34. This is an example. Dear Gwiza, you are alert due to your 34 years old. Wow, it is a message. I'm sorry for the English, but then you understand the meaning. So here, assume that I want, for example, to receive two names. This is something that I've jumped, but I want them or you to understand it. If I want, for example, to enter my two names, then you can see that it will be dropping or even returning or breaking from the system. Why? When you are having scanf can only receive one name, and if you are just putting this space, it will understand as this one. If then it puts this one, so it means then the system will understand that it needs to finish or finalize the string to receive the string. Here I need to use gets if I want to receive everything. So if I use gets, so it will be very good. If I put here Gwiza Eric, so you can see enter your age, for example 23. So then dear Gwiza Eric, you're adult due to your 23 years old. Wow, this is then what we wanted. Your if statement will only display if the condition is true. So then otherwise what to be done? If the condition is not true, you can have your else statement. And your else statement, usually you can write it like this and then you display something, but then it is good to put these structures. But then if you don't want to include these brackets, it means you will only write one line of code. The statement of else will be only one line. Okay, let us go. So here then you are, let me say, let me print out the same. Dear, you are not, let me say, for example, you are not all that due to your years old. Yes, like this. So if it is like this, then I can run my system or my program. Then it will ask me enter your name, Gwiza, enter your age 45. It will be giving me like this. If I say, for example, I'm 10 years old, let me say we are having Gapasi Happy, who is 8 years old, and dear Gapasi, you are not all that due to your 8 years old. You understand that here we can also do something. For example, if you want, for example, to manage the marks, if you want to manage a student marks, you can also tell to this person, enter your age and your marks. For example, we want to give, remember these ones, we have finished them, right? I am going to comment them and I'm very sorry to do so, but then I have to, just because we've done with it. So assume then here I want to receive two things. I want to receive the marks, and the marks should be declared here because I need only to use this variable after declaring it. So if then I want to receive two things, that means then here I will also need something else, which is what? Which is marks. Are we together? So but here I am passing two variables in my scanf, but the data type specifier is only one. I need to double it so it can become two. Are we together? So assume then I want only to give the promotion to someone who has more than 70 and the age is less than 25. This is an example. So if, are we together? If age is less than 25 and the other and of ours, well then we need to use this and the marks is greater than 70, then this person is promoted. We can then print if, wow, promoted, which means this promoted will only come to someone who is less than 25 and also is greater than 70. Are you getting my point? The promotion of any institution, dear Gwiza, age, please enter your age and marks. Let me say that my age is 22. And what about your marks? Then my marks is, for example, let me say marks. Usually I always get 100%. So then here, wow, you promoted. Assume that then here I am 22, but I'm having 50. What will be the output? So here, if this is Gwiza, and this guy is 22, but then he's having 50 or 56, then there will be nothing to be returned. Why? Using an operator, all the conditions should be true. Are we together? But using all, which means all operator will only work if one of the condition is true. This statement will be executed if only one. Even if you're having 10 conditions, then only one matters. Let me say, for example, this one, and I am having 0 as the max. But then you are promoted. Why? Because the age, which was 22, is successfully passed. But then the max, if we're having 0, but here we only want one condition. This is also applicable, sorry. It is also applicable. So here is then how we can use if. So assume then I want to use nested if. So for example, I don't want to control using this all. I want to say this one, if this one, then I need to say another if, and here I need to check if my max is greater than this one. Otherwise, if then this guy is having this max, I will say wow, promoted. Otherwise, you can see here, then here I can have my else. So your else statement, usually it is otherwise. In other words, printf. Here I want them to display I'm sorry for your marks only. I am sorry for your marks. But then here on my if statements, here what will be done? When will this I am sorry for your marks will appear or will be displayed? Only if the age is less than 25, but the marks is less than 70. That means if it is less than 70, this one will be displayed. If it is greater than 70, this one will be displayed. Are we together? Yes, I am sure that you are getting this because this is what we have in normal life. Let me see, for example, this guy is having 22 and the age is having, no, sorry, the max is 50. I'm sorry for your max. Why? Because the max was 50 and it is less than 70. For example, I'm having an else statement to say or to specify about, or even just talk about, I am sorry for your age and max. So assume this is it. So when will this be displayed? If max and everything is not. If no, the age is greater than and also the max is not this. But no, here it will not work like that. Here, if the age is equal to this one, if it is greater, if the age is greater, so here I will be telling him that I'm sorry for your age, not age and max. Why? Because here this is the else of this if. You can see that this if ends by here, this is the else for this if. And unless here I need to have like an else. If we'll be seeing it. Assume that this is it then. So let me say, for example, we want to have like a simple program that will be checking for the evens and odd numbers. So let me say even, odd. We want to do an application that will be controlling for odd and even numbers. So what do we mean by here? So here I need to have a message to the user. Please enter your marks. Please enter any number. Then if you have asked to the user to enter any number, then we are going to control. So here we remember and we know that even numbers are those numbers divisible by 2, or that number that if you divide it with 2 then you get to 0, and odd numbers are those numbers with some reminders when it becomes to the division of 2. Okay, so here I am telling to the user, please enter any number. That means I need to receive that number with together. So here then I will need my scanf, and this scanf will be there to help me to hold the number. And here the number, for example, it is equal to num. But the problem is that here num it should be having this ampersand. This ampersand will be there to help us to receive the number. Why? Because the number will be going to a specific address. Together with this, num is not defined, which means I need first of all to define it. So here I can say, let me see if I am able to display or to receive that num. Let us run this program. If we run, it will ask me, please enter a number. If I say, for example, this one, so it will just display that number. Are we together? Wow, we are able to have the number. Then here, what am I going to do then? Here I'm going to control the odd and even. So here then, what should I do? I will say if num modulus 2 is equal to 0, then what is it? So here I will just say printf, then num is even number. So assume this is it. So here, but then here I need to pass num. Are we together? Yes. Assume this is it. So here, other than just printing this one, I don't want to print it. If I run, for example, like this, you can see it will tell me, please enter any number. Let me say 34. It will be telling me that 34 is an even number. I'm sorry. Here it is P not V. Okay, you can see here I didn't include this bracket. Why? I wanted only to include one line of code, which means if I add another line of code like printf thank you, this printf thank you will not be coming inside my if, it will be coming as an else. Are you getting my point? So if you are having like this one, so here if you're having like this one, this thank you will not come as the part of if. You can see, please specify any number. It will only just tell thank you, which means here 45 first of all is not even number, it is odd number, it is not being found in if. Then this else, it will be displayed. If you don't want to include the brackets, please make sure that you will only write one line of code after your condition. Are we together? For me then, I want this one, and it will be closed, for example, not here, but it will be closed by here. So if I add, like, let me add any number and I put like 7, if it is 7, you can see that nothing is being displayed because 7 is not even number. But if I put like 8, then the two messages will be coming. You can see 8 is even number. Thank you. Wow. So this is for if. Then else, on my else, it is to display or to tell to the system or to the person that this number is odd. So is odd number. So this is my else. So if then this thank you, I want it to come as an else statement. Are we together? Are we together? Yes, I want it to come at the end of everything. So which means this thank you will not belong to if, it will also not be belonging to us. Then if I do it like this, if I run, so you can see it will tell me enter any number. If I add, for example, 8, it will tell me 8 is even number, thank you. If I add any odd number, then I add, for example, 7, then it will tell me 7 is odd number, thank you. So assume then I want to have assume I want to have like 0, which means if I want to test 0, 0 modulus 2, I know that it is also equal to 0. But here then before I can come and I put any other condition. If num is equal to 0, then here I'll be having my else. So here, if num is equal to 0, I will say then we print out the entered num is 0. For example, this is a message that I want to display. So here we are having if, and if is opened here, closed here, but inside the if we are having nested if. But even if it is if else, okay, let me just try this, and then I run and then I see. Let me say, for example, I am adding a number like 0 to be telling me that the entered number is 0. Thank you. Why? Before I added this one, like when it was like this, if I add, like if I run and I click or I enter 0, it will tell me that 0 is even, yet 0 is not odd, is not even. Okay, you ready? We need then to have like inside an if inside another if. This will work if you are checking the first condition and you want to check the second condition, but based on the output of the first condition. Are we together? If you are having this, you are able to have this. If you are having this, also have this, which means we are having conditions that are stacked somewhere. This is for if and if else. Let's say nested if also we talked about it. Then let us go on switch statement. When we say switch statement, what do we mean? Switch will be very helpful if you want to switch for something which is for determined or finite condition. For example, we are going to use a simple condition and a simple exercise, a simple question that many people knows. You may know it by words, not in programming with C, but this is nothing other than displaying the names of the weekdays. Or this is the first day, this is the second day. For example, if the user enters 1, we know that 1 is Sunday. If the user enters 7, we know that the 7th day of the week is the Sabbath, which is Saturday. So which means then I am going to control like this one. For example, we know that the structure of each and every program is this one, switch statements. So here I will tell to the user printf enter any number from 1 to 7. I'm just telling to this user, please enter any number from 1 to 7. Then if you tell to the user to enter a number, the system expects you to write a command to receive what the user has entered. So here then, let me call it day. But remember, before using day, I need to declare it. Are we together? Then here I need to declare this dash. And also remember, if we are going to retrieve or to receive integer, we need to use the ampersand. So here we can, after receiving, then we switch it. Remember, we are going to use switch statement. What do you switch? You switch what you have received. What have you received? I have received a day. After switching this day, then I can control this one. Sometimes it is good to switch using this one. Then you put some cases. Are we together? In some languages, we'll be seeing it like this. And when you are using switch, there are some people who just forget to include this one. They say, okay, why do we need to switch? Is switch a function? Usually, yes. It's a function that will be having one argument and whereby you can even just put some other statement, but it's it need to have where it need to start and where to end. Sometimes you can say, okay, what if I don't include this one? Well and good, it will work for the first time, it will work for the first case, but it will not work for the remaining cases. So let me say, for example, I'm inserting one, it will be telling me Sunday. Wow, it works. But let me say, for example, I'm adding another case, which is case 2. For that case, for example, we know that for the case 2, we will be having which day?
Hello viewers,
Have
welcome to the second tutorial.
if we are having like these two condition where we're having case 1, case 2, case 3, then if we run, usually as you can see, it is giving us an error, and the error is nothing other than it is not within the switch, which means switch will only see this first, the very first statement, which means we need to have where switch starts from and where switch ends by. So you remember we need to end our switch before return, because after switch we can just need to display some messages. Are we together? If it is the case, then for this, if I run like this, you can see now it is running. If I put, for example, 2, it will tell me Sunday. Why? Because the message is the same. Here I need to change the message to Monday. The same thing then, as I have done it like this, I can copy, paste. Remember that switch is used when you are having finite cases, when you are able to modify or even just to track the cases. So that means then here it is Tuesday, here it is Wednesday, here it is Thursday, here it is Friday, and lastly the Sabbath, Saturday or Sabbath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So here then, users are users. You may tell to the user, please enter any number from this one. If it says 7, it is Sabbath, but then the user can put something bad like 20, which means we need also to be sure on how to manipulate this. And here we are having a default, and usually the default means if not above. What are you going to tell to the user? It's nothing other than wrong what? Wrong choice. So if it is a wrong choice, which means then the user will get that he has entered the wrong choice. So which means then here, if the user entered like this number, the system will display wrong choice. If the user enter anything that you didn't predefine here, then it will be wrong choice. This can be applied to when you want to assign grades to the students. You will be doing it as the examples and the exercises. Usually, in each and every chapter, I leave out a number of exercises together with the solutions that will be helping you guys for your exercises. Okay, this was selective statements. In selective statements, we have seen if else, nested if, else if, and switch. But usually, I think I didn't talk about else if. Usually, else if, how else if works. Let me add another for else if. Assume here I don't want to use nested if, but I want to use nested if. No, else if, sorry. This person wants to use else if other than using this nested if, which means if it is if else, I will first need if this one, else if this one. For example, we are having like 3 conditions or 2 conditions and 1. If you are having, for example, if num is greater than 50, is greater than 60, then I can display to the user, wow, passed the course. So then else if then num is less than, for example, let me say if is greater than 50 only, it means it is not reaching to 60, it is between 50 and 60, then I can tell to the person passed but not good. For example, this is an example, passed but not good. Let me say, for example, like this: you passed my course but it's not good, you didn't pass on a good mean. Then else, the else, then in my else I can say you failed into the course. Oops, oops, you failed my course. This is an example. So which means here we are having else if. Else if means you are having, it is like adding another if. Usually else if works the same as if, another if, because you can have many if at a time, or you can also have the else if. So it is good to use else if so that we can know where is the else, where is the if, where is the else. So for example, this one, you passed but not good. This is the statement that we have wrote from the else if. So you understand then how the else if works. So let us go to the last part of our today's tutorial, which is uh, repetitive statements. In repetitive statements is where we can have for loop, while loop, and while, and break and continue. I am going to use one example to each. So here I'm going to call this looping. So when you are going to do looping, for example, loops, as we have said, it is one of the repetitive statements whereby we need to repeat some statements. For example, we have said, okay, please allow the user to enter a number, and then the system should display from 1 to the entered number. This is an example. So the user, for example, if the user entered 10, the system should display from 1 to 10. Are you getting my point? Which means if I am doing it for this, I can say printf, this is an example, printf percentage d, then 1. Are we together? After this, no, sorry. Let me say, for example, it's not like this even. Here you can say, for example, you are going to print out 1. After this, you say, so you can see that you can display this message many times, and it is nothing you are displaying only. So then it is where repetitive statement comes from. Or for example, they have told you write a program to display welcome, welcome, welcome 10 times. You understand that? Then it will just require you to repeat one thing all the time. So let me say, if you are using for loop, so here if you are looping, then here you need to have a counter which is like I. So here you can say for I is equal to 0, or for I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to the number that the user has entered, then I plus plus, remember. So here then what are you going to do? You are going then to print out what? You are going to print out this percentage d, then you print out I. What do I mean here? Usually this for loop will be having initialization, condition, and implementation. Here, or decrementation, I can say write a loop or write a program that will be allowing to the user to enter a number, and the system should display from that number to 1, which means you will use minus. You will go from num to 0, which means I will be equal to num, I will be less than or equal to 0, I minus minus. Are you getting my point? Yes, very good. So then here we can see like this. If I go in here and then I write, for example, enter any number, it's say 12, 22, the system will display for me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it will be in one form. So how do I even format? We have seen that we can use /n or /t so that we can provide a space in between. Okay, we can say, okay, please enter the number. Let me say from 2020, 2022. It is this one, the same /t. I can say, for example, let me put something like this. Okay, if it is the case and I'm writing, for example, 12, you can see that 1 to 2 or up to 12 are we together. Very good. So how then do you use while? Here you have seen that here it is to use loop, for loop. Then how do you use while? While, the way while you works, usually the way while works, while will be working in the way, not the same way as for loop, but they will be working, they'll be doing the same. Usually you here put while condition, while I is less than or equal to now. This is our condition. Then after this condition, I need then to loop. Then what should I print? I'll print out I. Then I will say then I plus plus, which means I am going to increment my I. But remember here, I need to assign the starting. Here, the difference between while and for loop is about the syntax and the flowchart. Usually, we shall be, if you read like this note that has been posted for you, you'll be seeing then what do we mean by this flowchart and how is it uh, doing. For example, 12, it will be displaying to me the same things all together. This is for while loop. Then how does do while works? Do while display the message or execute the statements before the condition. How does it work too? So usually here, let me say, for example, I want to do something. Do, what are you going to do? You are going to print out, I'm going to print out, we together, what are you going to print out? I'm going to print out I percentage D, which is I. I'm going to print out I. Then my I get my I plus plus, but then while while I is less than or equal to none. Are you getting my point? Usually, this is how we need to do it. Usually, do, what should I do? Do you need to do something like this? What do you need to do? I need to do this statement. Why do I need to include this one? It is because I have more than one statement. Do this while this is this. Are we together? So we are going to print out I, enter a number, we print out these ones while this one. So here I can put like the other things so that we can be able to keep track to it. So you can see if I put 12, you can see the 12 numbers will be displayed. Usually we'll be having in all the programs that we are going to write, we'll be using this control statement, and they will be very helpful if you want to write any repetitive statements, selective statements, or want to select from any condition. Thank you very much. Thank you for today's tutorial, and I hope this is very interesting and you will be meeting with this in all the applications that you'll be writing. But before we go off, or I just switch off my voice, or I even just keep quiet, I want to tell you that there's one loop that we didn't talk about, which is pass and break and continue. And by break and continue, I will also just introduce to it before arrays so that we will be having this one. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. And if you feel like this tutorial are very useful, please leave a comment on what I need to improve. Where do I need to improve? And I will be doing some other tutorials that will be harmonizing with these ones that I'll be giving you guys. Thank you. Have a great